Well, you know, it's so
Oh, just
frustrating
and,
because
thank you. Good evening. I'd like to call the February 5th meeting of the Board of Architectural Review to order. I have 5:53 p.m. First on the application is 36 East Lake Stable Road. You, Pedro, please, welcome.
thank you.
Awesome.
Kevin's
I'm sorry?
It's Kevin.
Okay, fantastic. And everyone's had a chance to visit the property and review the changes?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Would Kevin like to start?
Sure. So sorry I couldn't be with you tonight. I have a really bad flu, so I'm doing
All
it.
right. Feel better soon.
Yeah.
Thank you. So as I think I submitted some photographs, you can see the existing house has kind of an early 80s modern addition on the front there with a shed roof and some large skylights and casement windows that were leaking, and it doesn't really the design doesn't really lend itself to the history of this house as a carriage house. I know there's been a lot of changes made to this house since it was a carriage house, but I don't know if it was anyone on this board or the previous board that went out and saw some of the left side details, which had the old carriage house doors.
Couple of us, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know that you had suggested, which I think is a great idea, the some of the cross timbering and the beadboard to be incorporated into the design of this. So I don't know if I should share my screen or how you want to handle this, or just go to drawing hold on a second, A2, which
Can share the screen if you'd like, Kevin.
okay. Let me do that. I'm looking for my share screen. For some reason, I'm not seeing it. Oh, here it is. Okay, got it. Okay, so can you see this?
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
So drawing A2, you can see that the upper elevation is how it is now, which is basically just large casement windows on the bottom, large skylights on the roof, and then just more casement windows and a half round in the second floor. So what we're proposing is bringing it more to the west elevation. Let me bring that up. On A3, shows the existing west elevation and then the proposed west elevation. So brought a lot of the beadboard and some of the cross timbering into the facade on the west elevation, and then also on the south elevation on the front, to the extent possible, because we do want to have a good amount of light in there. We removed the skylights, and we're proposing to do a dimensional asphalt shake roof to match the existing asphalt roofing. And then on the second floor, I really wanted to line up that appearance down below. So did the same thing with some pilasters, half timbering. I mean, some of the cross timbering and lined up the windows with the windows in the sunroom below on the second floor, which required a little bit of rejiggering of the openings there, but I think it has a much better, more cohesive appearance that all the windows are stacked up vertically. And also, if we didn't do the second floor, which I believe Lynn and Colin were not really so keen on initially, but after seeing this elevation, I think they really decided to move forward with that. So
Figured if the whole porch has to come off, we might as well just bite the bullet and do the top as well. I know when you were over, you were talking about that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Such a transformation.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Truly.
a huge transformation.
It's going from 1980 to 1880.
Yeah, now
Which,
Yeah.
it's probably how it should look. Whoever put the porch on initially,
Right.
it doesn't really match the house. So, and it's a problem. It's leaking everywhere. So,
I think the timbering is fantastic. It's bringing much more architectural detail back to the space. I don't really have notes. Do you have concerns on changing the proportions? at all?
Yes, I'm just so excited, which is why I'm wearing this thing. Why for yes, when I'm very excited about a project that is
Green
such a
light.
transformation from, I mean, because we're talking about Bruce Price's carriage house. It was his
Yeah.
carriage house, so it's even though it's a carriage house, it was had a significant owner. So to bring it back to that, so I love it. The only little suggestion, and it's just a suggestion, it's no deal breaker at all, is if you look on A3, where you have the extension, where the sunroom was,
Mhm.
and you have the diagonal crossboard along the bottom.
Yes,
That one there. I'm thinking that probably better to eliminate that because the effect, the obviously the reason for it in the others were, there were supports for the doors opening.
correct, yeah.
You've got the imitation doors in the front where they look good, but there it's obviously wouldn't be a door, so it's kind of like an unnecessary detail. Because it's not a mirror image of another one, I would imagine.
Would you suggest bringing the timbering straight down to highlight the window, or just having it straight beadboard across?
I would just eliminate that diagonal across, and possibly to if you go to the other side where the door is, now obviously there wasn't room to do diagonals there. Maybe eliminate those two verticals down there, so it gives a little bit of a break from everything that's going on here. So that's just a suggestion.
Can I ask you a question? Where were the verticals over on this side? You're looking at this?
Yes, yeah. So
elevation.
it's eliminating that.
No, but you said also limiting the verticals. You mean that?
Oh no, keeping this as is. Yeah. Oh, sorry, these ones here.
Oh,
Eliminate those as well.
yeah, I
possibly.
wouldn't eliminate those, but I like the idea of the straight beadboarding for the reason you said.
Yeah, let me just ask you a question on the, I think you were referring before about the east elevation where we have the new door going in. Is that what you're referring to? And, but you're okay with that elevation now?
Yeah. And then the other question is about these trims. The new ones, will they be chamfered like the old ones, or are they just straight?
Wow, you really got good attention to detail. I was assuming that these would be straight, but we could make them chamfer if you'd prefer.
Well, I think that would be an important detail.
Oh, that'd be
Okay.
fabulous if you could, yeah, to match.
Okay.
Because it's those little details just make the whole.
Sure.
And I don't think it adds a huge amount of expense, but it has a huge impact.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not a problem.
And then, do we have spec sheets for proposed new windows and doors, John?
Yes, I think I show on the floor plan window models, and then there's a note on A1, all window models shown are Pella Reserve Series casements, simulated divided lights, painted wood exterior.
Okay, so it's an all wood window. If you could share the spec sheet on that, that'd be helpful.
Sure, that's their, that's their most traditional model that Pella makes now. So, but I will include that.
Certainly. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thoughts, questions?
I think it's awesome. I love it. I think it's gonna look exactly like it should look. And hopefully much more functional for you too on the inside, considering the leakage that's happening right now.
And with the wind and rain we had recently, I stood
Yeah.
out there and it felt like it was raining on me in the porch. So that's why we're like hoping just to get it by the time, not that the weather's been bad, but by the
Yeah.
time the spring comes around, hopefully by
Yeah.
the next fall, we're done and just have this thing complete.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
I have
Use the,
one-
3-bucket house.
One question, and forgive me if you mentioned this, but what is the color scheme of the timbering versus the beadboarding versus?
So let me, let me bring up, I think we were gonna just copy what's on the west elevation. So let me bring up a photograph of that. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, so right now, if you can see the photo that I just, did I share this? I didn't share. Hold on one second. Stop share. Let me bring this up again.
Just like this.
Share screen. Let me get that up.
Matching the same
Okay,
style.
so do you see the photo that I just shared?
Right,
Yeah.
no, we just want to match what's there and just keep that same look throughout. Nothing's gonna,
Looks very handsome.
Same detail with the timbering dark.
And even that's a great photo too.
Yeah.
So just light gray and then the darker gray for the trim. And then the white, white windows.
That chamfering is, yeah. I think that's an important detail.
Mhm.
It's, we've talked in the past about us as a bar highlighting projects that are successful to encourage, to show people what can be done. And I think this would be a great project to do
Most
that.
definitely.
So if you'd be willing to give your permission for it to be, for us to put before and after. So once it's finished,
Yeah.
if you send us photographs so we can put it on the web to show you how wonderful it is working with the bar.
Sure.
that's why I had John involved and had you guys over ahead of time, because I just wanted to, I want to make this easy if possible, right? It's, if I can make it
Greatly
easy, follow the
appreciated.
rules.
This is
And I can have a new
concepts, I
porch
know.
sometime this summer, right?
Right.
So.
Fantastic. Well, in that case, I would definitely like to bring this to a vote, for approval. We managed to run it. So encompassing the plans for 36 East Lake Stable Road, for the sheets brought up by company here, thank you. Kevin Brody, architect, sheets A1, A2, A3, and pending, oh yes, thank you for the dates. Most recently dated January 23rd of 24. And there is an additional sheet for the Pella Reserve Series casements, divided light, painted wood exterior. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Unanimous. Congrats,
Thank
and
you.
thank you for this
Thank you
beautiful
so much.
project.
Appreciate it.
Really.
Yeah.
Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Awesome.
Good night.
Okay.
Thanks,
Good
Kevin.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Get well soon.
Bye. Good night. Thank you.
If you want to, there's some cool
No, yeah,
projects up
no.
next.
I would.
Yeah.
We have to, but have a good
Right.
evening.
Bye.
Wonderful. And next up on the agenda is the Ellinghouse property at 86 Pawtucket Road. This was the changing of the windows. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Amy Howard. I'm
A
helping
pleasure.
Stefan and Megan Diaz-Ellinghouse with 86 Pawtucket. We have a lot of interior renovations that we're very excited about, but tonight we are proposing a full window replacement throughout the home at the
Okay.
exterior with Marvin Elevate line, which is, the line of windows is full wood. Interior would be primed wood in our case to be painted, and the exterior is fiberglass clad. And we're proposing simulated divided lights throughout with the spacer bar to add the sense of shadow between the grills. So a little bit of background about the house. It was built in the early 70s and is currently a combination of vinyl windows and wood windows. The wood windows are in disrepair at this time. And the vinyl windows are, it's hard to say, maybe 20 years old or so. And there are some weatherproofing issues with the vinyl windows. But the wood windows are really sort of the thrust of why we wanted to make this change now. The client, essentially there's two main objectives to the replacing of the windows. The first is a functional objective, is that the client would like to use the home this summer. So we're trying to get some window purchases in queue to have them ready for installation this spring. And the second really is aesthetic more than anything else. The current windows are full light. As mentioned, the house was built in the 70s. So it is French provincial style, but it's not exactly, perfect proportions. It's sort of a classic French provincial home. So our hope is that by taking out these full light windows that don't match at this time between the vinyl and the wood, replacing all with the same line of window, and with grills, we're kind of hoping that the grill might give us the opportunity to have the windows speak to each other a bit. They're different shapes right now. Some are more rectangular and some are more square. So we thought by adding grill detail we might be able to get some of these proportions to make more sense from window to window throughout the home. So Phil, I have Phil McCutcheon here from Windows
Oh,
and
my.
Doors, and he's brought a sample of the window for us to look at.
That is quite the sample. Thank you.
And we have the simulated divided light sample as well. So this
Okay.
is not the color that we would be choosing at this time. We would be choosing a white window on the exterior. Here's the simulated divided light.
Which of course is also the wrong color.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have
Well,
one cohesive sample that shows all of the colors and
Okay.
choices. But you see the grill, and then this is the white color
Don't look at that, don't
window.
look at that grill
That
between
is
the
not the
glass.
grill we're choosing, but that's
Thank
the
you.
color of the white. It's called stone white.
And the muntins will be exterior muntins as well.
Exterior and interior, and then there will be a spacer bar between them.
Wonderful.
So that adds that shadow.
There's a 7/8 bar, right, 7/8 bar in between, 7/8. Yeah, that little sample doesn't have the spacer in
spacer bar
between
goes
because it
there.
can fall out. But yeah, there'll be a spacer in between, so it will be, you won't be able to look through on an angle.
It's very nice. And
Yep.
this is not a vinyl product, it's a fiberglass
It's a
exterior.
fiberglass product, and what we did quickly up in our shop is add this piece. This piece normally wouldn't be attached to the window. This is something that the contractor will do.
Okay.
And this can make even more of a shadow line. The existing windows on the home now have it flush, and we'd like to, so this could be projected in, depending on the thickness of the casing, it could be projected in, and we were proposing a heavier sill, a simulated thick sill.
We're not sure, but it seems like the dormers were added at some point, especially the front dormers that are really
Seem
front and
very
center
prominent.
when you enter the home. And the way they're constructed is a little bit odd. The vinyl window is flush to the front
Flush.
facade,
Okay.
Yeah.
which is not great for weatherproofing, but also just from an aesthetic standpoint, it doesn't have that relief. So we were hoping that if we replaced those, we could play
We
with
could-
that detail a little bit, have that
Yeah.
window set back a bit.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The, just the stucco work sort of incorporates a kind of sill.
Yes.
So you're not suggesting taking that away,
No.
but you were mentioning,
No, we're going on top of that sill.
okay,
So this would
So
be
how-
sitting on top of the stucco?
that's what I'm wondering.
No, it's not on top of, no,
Set in,
set in.
yeah.
Okay.
This piece is what's gonna bridge to the stucco.
Gotcha.
This piece. And in some cases, it's arched.
But you'll let the stucco be the sill and this will be set back. Okay, good, just wanted to.
Yeah, and you can see the existing window on A003. I think a good example of one existing window is the one that's called out bottom left, existing kitchen banquette window. You can see, I think it's like the third page in.
Oh, yeah, it is. Thank you.
So bottom left, existing kitchen banquette window.
Okay, yeah.
That's what many of the current windows look like. There is an existing frame around the window that we're essentially proposing, we keep that detail, but it's set back from the stucco surround. And ultimately, we do have ideas about adding additional stucco details to bring it even more sort of towards a French provincial look, but right now, we're really focusing on the window replacement.
But certainly to keep the existing stucco definition. That was one of my
Yes.
other questions because in one of the drawings, and I'm sure it was unintentional.
Yeah.
The coining and everything receded. I just wanted to make sure you weren't taking it away
You know, the pointing will stay, yeah.
from current
Right,
existing to
right.
proposed.
Right, no exterior modifications at this time, except for the window.
Right.
Okay. I mean, you can see where the old vinyl ones are failing. We typically, design guidelines currently recommend wood windows. We encourage people to move upward in materials. I mean, fiberglass is still technically moving up from the vinyl. That would be, I mean, it's a well-engineered product. Concerns on material choices?
Is it, obviously there's a financial consideration, but elevating it up to ultimate and having an all wood product, is that a possibility?
It's mostly a financial concern. There is a longer lead time as well. I think it's about an 8-week longer lead time, but of course, we would not use that to drive the, final product. but it's about a 30 to 40% increase. So in the
Yikes.
span of 50 windows, it does really add up. So we did look in depth at all the window types and ways to go. I think it's probably worth noting that the fiberglass, the Marvin Elevate is approved in other historic districts.
Mhm.
One of the reasons Phil explained is that you can actually paint this much more easily than you could paint an aluminum window. So while we're not proposing to paint it at this time, it is more long lasting in that sense that you don't have to rip it out if it starts to fail. It also has slightly sort of rounded edges, not as sharp as a vinyl or an aluminum clad window.
Right.
So we feel like that also evokes more of a wood look. So we did a lot of research on what other windows could be approved by a historic district, and this one did come up, that are not all wood. And of course, it is an all wood window, it's just clad on the exterior for maintenance purposes.
Any other juicy points you can make
Tidbits
about,
fills the guy,
about
right?
why fiberglass is
I can
better?
say that this product performs equally, if not better than a all-wood product. It performs the same as Marvin's high-level product, which is the one we just mentioned, which is 20 or 30 or 40% more. The nice thing about the rounded edges with the reveals that we're proposing is it really will, it will look like it was born there. Because you just have you have more rounded edges, it's a more of a softer look than a clad product typically would. And I think you'll find that fiberglass is the fastest growing product in the window and door industry. It's the fastest growing. When you look at vinyl or all wood, of course, is a beautiful product, but it of course takes maintenance. And maintenance is one of those key ingredients going forward where this window really shines. I think that when you look at it overall, to say the window will still look, without interference, will still look as good as it does today in 20 or 30 or 40 years, I think that's a very positive note. And as Amy mentioned, I use this in historic districts all the time. And we, especially as an insert window where we're inserting in and we leave the details to the outside, so you don't lose those details that you want to hang on to. And you also don't have to paint this window, so you don't paint it repeatedly till the point where the glass has been diminished by the painter. So it's a very popular product, and this is the way we're going because of its superior performance.
Any downsides to it that you've come across?
We haven't had any downsides to it. We haven't had any downsides. It's a better product through engineering. And this is the way we're going.
I think the argument that I would make in favor for this house is it's a 1970s house. We're going from vinyl windows to an improvement in materials with fiberglass. I think, with putting in the muntins in proper proportions, it's certainly an upgrade for the house. And I think for the homeowner, they're showing, you said it was 50, how many windows?
It's about, I think, 45 to 50.
So, that is a huge financial burden. If we were replacing one window and it needed to be wood, I think I'd make the argument for wood, but increasing in materials and 50 plus windows is a financial hardship. I think it's a great product. I'm in favor.
Can I ask what this round is going to be made of?
It's subject to this
Actually,
was
do
just
this
put
one,
on
but
as,
it's-
I would propose AZAC because it's AZAC or Boro, because it would hold up, but it could be wood.
We basically
So
discussed.
I think the let's go over it, but I think the elevations are all the same and we're just doing a
At
replacement
first, we
of
were gonna try to
this.
use the existing frame, we can't reuse it, so we were just gonna match it, what exists there now, which is a wood frame. I think it also comes down to the color as well, if we were trying to propose a different color window,
Yeah.
I think that would be a lot trickier, because there's obviously only
Right.
X amount of window colors that they provide. But because we're going with the white to match the existing windows, it's no color.
And in terms of the facade, you're not suggesting changing any of the existing window shapes, you're just suggesting
There are a couple of instances noted where we are proposing a change to the shape.
Would you mind pointing that out to me?
Sure,
Thank you.
it's called I believe it's A800. It's probably the last sheet.
There we go.
So there's a schedule of windows here that lists,
Perfect. This is great.
under notes, great, which openings we're proposing a modification to. The majority of them, 5 of them, are actually life safety issues. At each bedroom, you're required to have 20 inches of clear egress
Mhm.
through a window as a secondary means of egress. Because of these double casement windows have a fixed post in between, when you open one, it's not 20 inches. So those windows we're proposing, in 5 instances, we selected specific places, that those windows get wider by a certain amount, and it varies from 4 to about 11 or 12 inches. The 2 that are the largest width increase are at the 2 bedrooms on the second floor, which you cannot see from the exterior of the house, even if you walk all around it, because there's such a large drop off at the back of the house. So those windows, we are proposing they get wider for code issues.
Oh, on the garden front above.
Exactly.
Sunroom.
The sunroom.
The window itself widening or the opening widening?
The opening is
Okay, so
widening
there'd be
and the
stucco work
windows
and
widening.
then-
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah. And then there are 2 other changes that are really just functional changes. One, is noted as, the mudroom window, W47. There's currently a door there,
Yep.
which the owner does not feel they need that additional egress door. So instead of just closing up that wall, we're proposing to add a window there that matches an adjacent window in
And the one
proportion.
next to it, okay.
Right. And then the last change is at the laundry room. We're proposing a higher sill height for the window where we're putting a sink. So that window is getting less tall.
So you'll just fill in the existing door space with glass rather than raise it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Is that where the butler's pantry is, or trying to see where you're replacing the door with the?
That is, yeah, page 3. Are you on A003?
I know it on that page, I was just looking.
Oh, in relation to the-
Yeah.
On the window schedule or,
Yeah.
oh, on the
On the
plan,
plan?
Oh, there it is, okay. Right.
W24.
Oh, because you have right, entrance on the
there.
other side.
So instead of doing a funny detail where you have a countertop that meets
Mhm.
sort of a dip at a sink, we figured since we're replacing all the windows anyway, maybe it makes more sense to just raise that to be more functional.
Question about the shutters. There's
Yes,
some weird shutters.
that is
Thank you.
on my list for the next bar meeting. I propose that we eventually lose the shutters because I think they're just making the proportions of the windows look very squat. But that has not been confirmed. We've not decided that, and of course, we'd love to talk that through with you guys. Really trying to come up with a way to make these windows look taller
Uh-huh.
and just right now.
More elegant.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that
so-
I'd write off the right shutter entirely.
Right,
but-
there might be a way to handle it with
Especially
maybe,
going for
maybe
the
the arch
conventional.
changes. It's to be determined.
Yeah, it's not an obvious thing. There's some that are obviously should go, and maybe some that should be added if you are going to keep the shutters. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's something. Yeah, and then when it opens out onto on the very edge of the thing, it's kind of like Mr. I think was it Pete Barbet that built the house? Yeah, I think.
the name, I don't know if he built it.
Yeah, it was the Barbet family that were
Okay,
instrumental in the very beginning of Tuxedo Park and had historic homes. And there was a Wanamaker. The Wanamaker built a house there,
Yes.
and then
the gardens.
I don't know whether it's demolished or burned or something.
Okay.
But yeah, Pete Barbet sort of built this in the
Okay.
70s,
Okay.
and
It was hard to find too much information on it.
right. I mean, it's funny. He was a bachelor, and so and he had a lot of staff, I think. So it's like some of the arrangements of the room were kind of like, well, why would it be like that? It's because it was,
Yes.
it was a very,
especially
very,
in the
very,
First floor.
yeah,
Interesting.
very unusual sort of setup.
And then we're keeping arches on the back kind of sunroom windows too?
So those we're not replacing at this time. I should point out
I
that
didn't see
the
them on the side.
sunroom needs a lot of work.
Okay.
Um,
A later project?
yes. So we're actually not replacing any doors at this time except for that one laundry room door.
Okay.
It's pretty small on the side elevation.
Well, these are more windows. I was just curious
Yeah.
if the Muntins
Yes,
will
that's a good
match,
point.
but-
The sunroom needs some work, so that will be tackled probably next fall.
Okay. And for the stucco work, are we proposing matching the existing kind of paint color or what?
Right now, we're just going to match to
Okay.
the best of our abilities, and then next meeting, there will be a whole conversation
can
about
help,
color.
please.
Yeah, the owner would really like to go lighter and brighter with the color, which I think will be amazing.
I think that could be very
So-
nice.
That's part of the next.
Well,
Yes,
happy to
yes,
help on
that
that how we
would be-
can.
Yeah,
Please don't
definitely, that'd
hesitate
be
to
great.
ask. In the meantime, for the window changing on those 50 or so, do we have any more questions or concerns? We have the spec sheet. I think we're increasing in materials. That would be within our ability to approve, correct? Okay, well, in that
Yeah.
case,
For my purposes of inspection,
Yeah.
what material are we gonna approve for the surround? The white surround, wood or?
I think wood.
yeah, I think
Wood.
as presented, with the wood
Well-
surround with the stucco reveal, that's because you're basically updating what is existing on the house with a better, more functional trim, if I understand
Yeah.
correctly.
That's fine.
Yep, I think wood is,
Yeah.
as we said, these are set back, so there is a bit of relief from the front facade. I think wood is perfectly fine for a replacement. Match what was there.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'd like to make a proposal to approve the Ellinghaus application for 86 Pawtucket, inclusive of pages A-001, A002, A003, A101, A102, A-200, A201, A202, A203, A800, and the samples provided for the Marvin Elevate collection with exterior, interior muntins, fiberglass exterior, wood interior. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Unanimous, and thank you.
Thank
Be
you.
a great improvement on the sex.
I'm loving all the
Please do.
inspiration pictures, so I'm excited for the
I
color
saw.
conversation.
Very much so. In any way we can be of help,
Yeah,
please don't
that'd be
hesitate to
great.
ask.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rob's spouse was born just a few houses down from the designer of the gardens, Rose
Oh,
Standish
amazing.
Nichols.
The gardens
Lincoln,
are
Mass?
amazing.
No, in Mount Vernon Street
Where
in
he was
Boston.
born in Boston.
In Boston, yeah.
They moved to Lincoln later.
Yeah, so it's a significant American horticulturist, as we
Yeah.
discussed with Stefan, yeah. And so we're so delighted that you're preserving that because it's very rare,
Yeah.
the existing ones. So that's quite.
It's such an amazing garden.
It really
It's
is.
it's a lot of work,
Yeah.
requires a lot of time and love, but,
Yeah.
every day we're there, there's a little bit of progress, right? Because
Uh-huh.
this was, we were here a couple of months ago, that project is now there. We
Exciting.
work with, Karen Aaron's.
Great.
Help just, it's more, it's not aesthetic, it's prepping for landscaping, but it's helping to put the water away from the foundation, so like, we're
Yeah.
chugging away a little bit, it's gonna be beautiful, we're
Slowly
gonna
but
bring it
surely.
back to its,
Yeah.
original glory, it's gonna take a little bit of time.
I'll bet it will.
It's a process.
Little time and a
Like
lot of love.
every project.
It's a
yeah.
good problem.
Well, it's the journey. It's
Journey.
It's not,
After
a sprint, it's
after the second argument, Megan and I decided we're gonna enjoy the journey and not think about the destination.
We'll
Fantastic.
get there.
Very good.
Yeah,
Great,
thank you
thank you so
so much.
much.
Thank you.
And then next on the agenda, we have a review of the minutes. I had a chance to review. Did everyone get a chance to take a peek?
Yeah.
Yep. Wonderful. So I'd like,
It's the last.
Yes,
oh, you do have two, you're correct.
it was the November 20th, 23, and then January 16th, 24. We tabled the November one for this meeting.
We did have a chance to review. Did everyone review the 16th as well?
I think I've looked at all of them.
Wonderful. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 20th and 2023 and the
Night.
January 16th. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
2024 minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I.
Oh,
You know.
aye. Wonderful. Unanimous.
Jack. I like to keep it dramatic.
You know, it's been a while. We need a little
Yeah.
drama in here. Speaking of which, our next, we're going to go into executive session, just to discuss some items that we've had kind of outstanding.
Do we need to go into executive session?
I think it'd be more appropriate, yeah.
I disagree. I think it's, unless it's something about personnel or confidential, talking about.
These are applications or?
Not applications, just personnel, housekeeping, I think it's anything.
I'm just, we've never done this before. I mean, I don't know when you go to executive session, it's something, you have to say why we're going to executive session. It's because it's about something legal or personnel or something. like that.
Personnel issues.
It is personal issues, okay. Before that, then, can we talk about the climate thing and the?
Oh, yes, that's an excellent idea. So, just have some notes on that. Here. Okay, so I had for the solar guidelines. So I want to discuss, well, we need to discuss rather, updating our guidelines regarding solar. I think that a lot of the larger homes in the park are quite energy intensive. People are hesitant to, myself included, put a solar panel on a roof, a beautiful slate roof of a historic property. Michelle Lindsay mentioned that she'll be getting some documents together for us on some initiatives that she's putting together for clean energy opportunities in the park. So I'd like to review those when we have a chance, just if she's had a second to send those. If not, no biggie. And no, not yet. So I think it comes down to it. We have projects coming in front of us to have direct and straightforward guidelines on what is acceptable for solar, and just be able to point people in the right direction, because right now it's very unclear. So I would suggest that we draft and propose an amendment to the guidelines, specifically on solar. And I think where we do that, we need to have a discussion on if that's solar panels on roofs, or if there's an approach that we can have for a community solar solution. I mean, I think the latter would be fantastic.
I think, because I think, I mean, backing up a little bit, when Jim Hayes was proposing the
guidelines.
So that when people decided to do it, they didn't have to jump through all the hoops. It was all done.
Right.
And so the BOT wanted the bar to opine on that and say whether that was something we approved of or not. And
Yes, and I think that had a lot to do with just with the general installation of.
Exactly, yeah,
But it would still require bar review.
correct.
Specific.
And us approving that would make the tax incentive aspect of it much easier for homeowners. So I think it's something we should definitely consider approving. I think in addition, if we were to give further guidance on, okay, you can have this not facing the street, or, you know, whatever the acceptable terms were, that having that additional level of design guidance would be very helpful. Whether we approve a raise, if you have X number of acres and want to put it on a surface that doesn't take down any trees. I think people have a lot of questions. And
I think those are good framings. That's exactly the kind of framing we want to implement.
Certainly it's something we absolutely want to encourage, but obviously in the most appropriate way. We have a big uphill battle with it. It's a challenge because of historic nature. But I think, yes, in principle, we're all, I think we need to voice whether we're in favor of it. But it does seem like a tailored, custom thing. Each property is different, so that, so I don't know whether we can go into too much detail, because hopefully it's evolving rapidly. It doesn't seem to be. I mean, Tesla, we're going to come up with like slate-like panels, and that's,
Stop, start.
so
I'm still waiting on the slate.
yeah, so I don't know whether we need to go into so much detail about it, but just get across that, yes, please come to us and to discuss, what you've discovered, and so that we can have that conversation, so we can go in the right direction. Because
I think a general set of guidelines would be helpful. Just as there's a section there, I'm happy to draft something, and we could shop it together if that's
Right.
helpful.
Yeah, that'd be
love
great.
I
input.
think framework around the
Yeah.
considerations that we'd have, like street facing or not, visibility, like optimal use on the property, like how efficient would it really be without having to remove any trees, and things like that.
Right,
I don't know if we could assign certain acreage to it, but I think the visibility factor is something that everybody will be concerned with.
Yeah, that would help, so that people, right from the get-go, they realize that isn't an option. So
Right.
the ones that we know about, yeah, that would be great, so that it narrows it down a little bit, so we go off, happily in the right direction.
Yeah.
That'd be great, yeah, that would be.
And, TPFYI has raised their hand.
Hi, guys. You need a legal reason to enter into an executive session. You can't just say housekeeping. I'm not trying to like bust your chops, but there are like within sunshine laws and stuff, there are specific reasons you can go into one. Otherwise, it's got to be in the public purview.
I
Sorry.
I agree with them. It's hard to hear what's being discussed, so I can't. Sorry, I don't know why. It's not me. I can hear some people well, but not the board.
Okay, we were discussing how to best help applicants determine the best solar application for their property. Just so we're clear on legal reasons to go into executive session, are we able to discuss personnel issues?
Personnel, yes. Litigation, yes. Potential litigation, yes.
Okay.
General legal advice, yes.
Okay. Well,
But
that's
not issues around applicants.
Correct.
I have one item then before you.
Oh, yes, please.
Are we
Just-
done with solar?
I would just, I'd like to tag on. Nope. Did we have something? Sorry, I thought I heard someone. I don't want to speak for Michelle. I haven't heard back yet, but I think that she has some resources for us to incorporate for other things besides solar. I know that you guys just put in geothermal, and that was something that I'm sure
Good for you.
incredibly helps.
The
Amazing.
best option of all.
Yeah. it's
So from that,
amazing.
is there any sort of resource for that? I'm not familiar with geothermal that we could be providing to applicants to say, hey, this might be for you.
Definitely, and we could kind of brainstorm how to approach that for a community for a resources perspective. We also spoke to about 5 different companies in the area and could kind of, provide references to other people in the park. I know that the Pace House is actually also using our contracting firm at their house to do geothermal. So they've already kind of started infiltrating the park a little bit, and we're really happy with them.
Yeah, I'm sure it can be intimidating to find who's doing that sort of thing, so that
Mhm.
could be a good resource.
The Perna property, they've installed theirs, right?
The Perna property's been installed. The Pays property, everything on the ground has been installed.
Yeah.
Where is the Perna property in terms of its advancement?
It's been unfortunately moving a little slow. They're still doing structural work. There's several metal or steel beams that have to be
But it's
installed.
still moving ahead.
It's certainly moving
It's
ahead, a
slowly.
little bit slow,
Yeah, great.
but they were installing some of the steel structural beams last week and the week before.
Right. I actually did want to just flag, sort of as a question. I'm a little concerned about the dormers on the Pace House that don't reflect what I remember voting on. And they really smack of a kind of contractor special. I'm not sure if you've looked at the Pace House recently.
I believe so.
There are a couple of like, I don't know, like Western Saloon sort of extensions.
If I may,
Yeah.
I think they're just mock-ups while they do the slate around the openings,
Okay.
while they
Did
wait
they-
to
they
That
install
was
the
my
cast.
understanding as well.
Okay.
but that's
Until they
not a
wait
finished
for
product.
the cast stone to be installed.
Thank God. Why is
And I'll
it,
double check that, but
what, can you explain a little bit more how these mock-ups were intended? I mean, because the sizing is worrisome in terms of how it affects the contours and the silhouette, it's particularly on the tower and.
I can't help you with that, but I do believe they're mock-ups, so they could do some of the slate work and some of the finish work
But they don't,
before they do the front facade.
but they don't represent the scale of the dormers because it's very confusing.
I'd have to look more closely at it relative to the plan.
I mean, honestly, we had contrary to Mr. Paz's report, which confused me because we had a really productive time with that project. In fact,
Mhm.
it was kind of textbook. There were 3 years after, but that had nothing to do with the BAR. It was just, I don't know what was holding up their progress. So I don't know what he was saying at the Board of Trustees meeting. And in fact, we sort of fought tooth and nail to protect their interests because there were a lot of people who were negative about that project all around. A lot of commentary. So be that as it may, but we were very happy with the final blueprints that were approved. And it's just been very worrisome seeing those things hovering. I've been waiting to sort of understand what are those? You know, all of the sort of tracery that was outlined in wood.
Mhm.
There would be no room for that on the existing scale of dormers. So I'm just very confused. And honestly, we had such a good conversation with the architect. I forget his name. I don't know if you remember, Christopher.
Kevin Brody, the gentleman.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
Brody.
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
He was terrific, and he really liked all the stuff that we brought to refine the design. He said as much repeatedly.
Yeah.
I would love to have him come back and just walk us through, what is this? Is this a change? Is this not a change? Where did it come from? What is intended? Because right now, I have to assume that they intend what I'm seeing.
Well, as John said, I think
It could
it's,
probably go through John first, right?
we should inspect it,
Well, it would have been nice if we brought this up when we were looking at the moldings, you know, around the perimeter, but I'll look into
Well,
it more.
just to be fair, you mean the moldings on that
The
project?
soffit,
Yeah,
soffit
that,
level.
it was, those weren't erected until after. They were erected before they put them all up, but after we'd approved the, at this meeting, you know, at the end of.
my
last
understanding,
fall.
as John said, is that the kind of, I think what you're talking about is it's almost like a large board
It's a plywood.
tracing out around there.
Mhm.
I believe that is a mock-up for the slate work that's coming into there, and then I forget the name, what's the copper that goes underneath? I can't remember the, like flashing sort of
Flashing.
thing.
I'm not sure I see how that could be. That's the problem. I mean.
Let me,
Yeah, what I
I
would
think we should
suggest.
have John
So we don't
I would
before we-
suggest John taking a look. I would also say that the Pays have been, you know, actively and happily engaged with the process and want the best outcome possible. But I don't
Right.
foresee them,
Well, I'd love it.
you know, I see them wanting to build what they presented.
Right.
Yeah.
No, certainly that was what he represented at the Board of Trustees meeting, but this really felt like something quite different. So I would love to just be calmed that, you know, we really stuck our necks out on the line on his behalf. So I want to know that, you know, that we can be proud of what we approved as it is realized.
And then certainly, I'd like to make a comment that sometimes when we approve things on paper, when it's actually built, it comes across slightly different. You know, it's difficult to envision. And I would love to be in the position. Obviously, it depends on the homeowner if they're acceptable, and they seem very acceptable to suggestions, changes, and it was very much a two-way dynamic. And that it's now, even though it's been approved and they can go ahead with it, if we felt there was something that could be improved or would make a big difference in the thing, that we'd love to be able to say, would you be willing to hear, you know, another opinion? Obviously, it's not binding, but and then they can say, no, you know, we're so far into this, we're done. Or please, you know, we appreciated your advice, and if there's something you think would be a good change while it's still in the building process, please, we're all ears, and they can take it or leave it. It's not legally. That's my thought on it.
I will raise the questions and get you something,
Okay.
in a couple of
And
days.
and just to be clear, the reason why I bring it up and why I'm worrying, I'm not trying to be difficult, is that
Well, I'm also trying to kind of shorten the conversation, because I don't think we should be having this without
Okay.
the applicant present.
okay,
Right.
It's reached the
That
point
makes
where it's a little too much.
okay,
I get the hint.
Okay.
I'll look into it for you. If you don't like the answer, we can go further.
okay.
Thank
Great,
you.
great, thank you.
And the other thing was so the Board of Trustees
Yes.
are trying to, I mean, we're trying to implement the design guidelines. We already have code, building code, and about, you know, obviously the buildings and things, but about the landscaping. And it seems a lot of the landscapers aren't even aware of it. So they're breaking rules and things that they're not even aware of the rules.
They are given a copy every single year, beginning of spring, of the rules and regulations.
Right. So but it's not obviously not working. A lot of them, but you know, so it's to discuss, you know, help the Board of Trustees work out a way, you know, us, the Board of Architecture, recommending, giving some recommendations of what we think about it. That whether we think it's something that can be improved and how it can be improved, and you know, whether it's I mean, personally, I don't think there should be a financial aspect to it of charging the landscapers a thing. I don't think that's a good thing. But
No.
I think, as they mentioned, the BOT, that you know, if you violate it, that's
Right.
it.
Well,
You
so
know.
two things I think on that. I think you're right about putting the onus on the fee for the landscapers is not, A, they already get the rules and it's not happening. Adding a $150 fine is not going to make
Right.
that enforced any further. I think if our objective is to keep and protect our old growth trees and stop those from being cut down, two things need to happen, and this is what's happening in municipalities that have been more successful in implementing this. One, there needs to be, just like someone would approach Sean for a building permit, there needs to be a separate permit from the homeowner to be removing those trees that is approved, a very thorough process. Second, and what I found the dollar amount for most municipalities who are serious about this is 10,000 a tree, if you're in violation of that. $150 is not going to stop anyone in this park from doing whatever they would like to do. 10,000 might stop enough people to make a difference. I think if we're serious about it, we need to pass effective legislation and not something that will reduce the number of contractors and overall make it more expensive for the already limited number of contractors that do work within the park. So then the homeowners and the people who are following by the rules then, are not treated fairly. So I'd say that's my thought. I love my trees.
So we're in the agreement that what the BOT is proposing is a good thing, that we, that
It needs more teeth, so it's effective.
right, exactly. It needs more teeth, and there's a draft gone around which isn't perfect, and I don't think we don't have to opine on that, but it just gives them, yes, the Board of Architecture Review is very much in favour of this, and
Absolutely.
and
Well, I cannot think of a better tree liaison.
how does this normally do? Should we draft a couple of sentences or something to read out?
Well,
Or
just as you mentioned, what was before the trustees is a draft law, and with any draft law, anybody can make suggestions.
Right. So maybe at the next meeting, it'd be appropriate to give feedback, or when they presented. You said there was a new edit going around? I haven't seen
Yeah,
it.
Christopher sent it.
No,
right?
I didn't get a chance
It's
to review.
this.
No, that's the old one, I think.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that's the
Yeah,
old,
okay.
which has problems in it because it's talking about leaf
Right.
blowing from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m., which is, that's one of the bête noire of the community of, leaf blowing all the time, Saturdays and Sundays. And so that's something that should be limited even more. But I don't think the plan is to change any code. It's just giving it some teeth to start off with, and then later on.
It depends what your suggestions are. I mean,
Right.
If you have suggestions regarding making it a little more enforceable, or penalty has to fit the crime, then submit those comments. And I would suggest you submit them in writing so they're date stamped and you're on the record.
Let's think so we have one more meeting before the next BOT in 2
Yes.
weeks' time. So let's think about something we can decide.
Can I ask a question?
I'm not sure, is there a holiday, our next meeting, or no?
Oh, is that President's Day?
I think it's President's Day, so ordinarily we wouldn't have a meeting that day, and I'm not aware of any other applications at this time. So our next meeting will most likely not be till the first meeting in March, unless we have a need to call something special.
Did you just say that the leaf blower issue has been rolled into the tree legislation, or?
There's existing law for that.
Well, I didn't know what you were just bringing that up.
I thought it was, there's no work between, you can do work between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. And Saturday mornings.
8 and 4:30, Monday through Friday.
Uh-huh.
General. There are some different parameters for the weekends. It's also different if you're a private homeowner. You really don't fall into the contractor guidelines.
Uh-huh.
And there are a couple of weekends in November when
There's a couple
allow
of the Saturdays
Saturday.
in November, the Saturdays before the Thanksgiving holiday. Landscapers can work on Saturday picking up leaves. And there are some time requirements, but it's a pretty full day on those 2 or 3 Saturdays before Thanksgiving in February. I'm sorry.
But this is
November.
just something you were referring to. This has nothing to do with what is in question right now.
It's in that draft proposal that was saying about leaf blowing is fine between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m.
I mean, I wish
So
people
extending
made
that by
think
more,
Well, I think it was a mistake. I don't know.
Oh.
But as I say, it's a draft, so it's.
I wish they made more of a distinction between a 2-stroke motor leaf blower and an electric one. I mean, there's a vast difference in the impact on several levels.
Oh,
In
yeah,
terms of
huge.
exhaust, noise, and you could almost try to sort of give a carrot with the stick by allowing people more sort of latitude in terms of timing. Should you opt to, retrofit your whole sort of entourage with electric?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's certainly a great incentive.
I don't know
because-
if we are in a position to make that.
Do you You are
Addition.
independently, I think, but
So are we going to give some language or?
I think we should give some language on the tree issue, although I am in complete agreement with the leaf blower. I don't know that we really have jurisdiction on that.
That it applies to our,
Yeah.
our purview.
I think, you know, I see it's a two-step process, you know, help with this, you know, just the laws that are already in here to help give them, as you say, more teeth.
Yeah.
And then after that, in our design guidelines, you know, I often think of the rose and the thorn, that we could say, these are thorny issues that we really don't want, and these are rosy issues alike.
Right.
Electric leaf blower is much better than two-stroke. It's not the law, but it's just what we, you know, in our design guidelines, we strongly recommend. And then slowly, eventually, you know, if we get traction, then they can become put into code. I mean, that's a difficult part.
Well, if it becomes efficient for them and cost effective, you know,
Right, yeah.
because they love to be able to work when they want to work.
Exactly. So,
Okay. Well, that, before we go into executive session, is there anything else anyone wishes to bring up?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you, everyone. John, will we be back after to end the meeting for
We're
that?
supposed to come out of executive session to
Right.
formally during the meeting, so
Okay.
right now you should just make a motion to go into executive session.
Okay.
And do we want Desiree in executive session, or is it better if we'll drop Desiree and TPFYI, or? Okay. So a motion.
Okay, a motion to go into executive session. Do I have a second?
just state why. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Just
Oh,
state why.
for the record, to discuss personnel issues. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll be back. Thank you.
Who was the TPFY? Who is that?
Oh, her name is,
Meg,
Just public?
yeah, she
Oh.
does, she does a
Meg
posting.
Vaughn.
Sorry?
Oh, okay.
Meg, yeah.
I
she-
figured it was a public member. I just couldn't tell.
Yeah. She runs an interesting kind of blog that follows all of the local government. She's been very
Gotcha.
helpful.
No further business. John and, oh, okay, take that motion. Go ahead. You could take the motion out to close the meeting if there's no more business.
Will do.
Desiree dropped off, so I'll just
Are we
write
back
down.
on?
Yeah, we're back on.
Okay, wonderful. So I'd like to make a motion to close the February 5th meeting. I have 6:46 PM. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. And thank you, Darius. I do appreciate the work you're doing here. It's just, you know, I had to communicate that.
Glad, no, always good. Communication's good.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Good night.